In the previous videos in this 5-part series, we went from this table where we took a look at Reddit and the ideas that came from the comments that people left to come up with a list of book titles that we could write. We have this button here that when we click it, we create this table, which has the chapter names and the contents of each of the chapters in our book. So that was the first two videos in this series. In this video today, I'm going to be taking you to that next step, where we're going to take each of these chapters and we're going to create fill in this chapter detail completely. So each of these will be the chapters written out in our book. So by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what your book will contain, and all the information will be stored in this Airtable chapter details. And this is great because then the next step, all that will be remaining, is to format the text correctly and to create a Google document with that. So then the book will be ready. So by the end of this video, we'll be more than halfway done in this whole book writing process. My name is Kevin, and in this channel, I speak about AI and automation and how you can use it to take your business to the next level. So that if that is you, this is the video to watch. So let's get right into it. So as we said, this is what we're going to cover in this video. We're going to start the start the flow, start the whole sequence either through clicking this test workflow button in our demo example or through a webhook. We're going to find a table name that we're speaking about. We're going to get the information from our table. We're going to loop over the information in that Airtable. We're going to create an array with the outline, and then we're going to go step by step and create each chapter in our book. And after that, we're going to save it all to Airtable. So that's the plan with this video. Okay, sweet. Let's get started. So over here, we're going to put this right here, and I'm just going to pull my other empty workflow if I manage to find it over here. Okay, great. So the first thing we need to do is obviously have a trigger. So since I'm doing this demo, I'm just going to go with start a trigger that is the test workflow. So we can just press that to start the trigger. In the production kind of real life world version, you could probably start with either on webhook call or when called by another workflow. So both of these allow you to start this and pass along the information that you need, which in this case will be the name of the table where all your data is stored, which will be this, in our case, correcting the world, one misused phrase at a time. So once you have that, the next thing you want to do is to actually get the information from our table. Now, since we're not passing along the information directly because of this demo thing, here I need to set the value of the specific table that we'll be working with. So I'm just going to say table, and I'm just going to pass along the information about that table name. So we have the table, or let's call it table name to be more clear, and that is the table name. So let's rename this as well. So set table name. Now we need to get the information from Airtable, but there is a bit of a problem, right? If we go to Airtable and we say, let's search for records, we can choose our base here, which is called n8n book YouTube, I believe. Yep. And here we have the list of tables in our specific database. The problem is that in this case, I know that it's this correcting the world one. However, we want this to be dynamic. We can't have it be fixed, because when this is working, it should immediately pick up the specific thing that we're working on. We don't want to do this manually. And the problem is that if we search by ID here or by URL, these are expressions, right? We can't put in a specific name, as in if I put this is not a URL or this is not an ID. So I need to find a way to get the ID of this specific table. So to do that, we need to add another intermediate type of step. So in our table here, we have the get base schema, which essentially tells us all we need to know about a specific database, which in our case is called n8n book YouTube. And if I test this step, I'm getting all the information about this database. We have a table called table 1. We have another table called decoding nonsense, and we have another table called correcting the world. and each of these come with their IDs. So this is what we are interested in. So over here, we know what the table name is. We know what we have the IDs of these three tables. So all that remains is to match this table name with this name right here, and then pull up or pull out this ID right here. And to do that, I'm just going to use a filter. So here I'm going to add a filter, and I'm just going to say when the table name is equal to the name right here, kind of just proceed with that. And in this case, it kept one item, which is the correct one here, which is correcting the world. And it discarded the other two items. Great. So in the item that was kept, we have the ID that we can proceed with. So here, I'm just going to insert the ID from that filter. And that should give me all the information about my book. So I have chapter 8.1. What I don't like here is that this is not sorted. So let's just sort based on the chapter name. So we have chapter 1, chapter 2. Great. Chapter this, right? Chapter 1, chapter 2. Yep. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Perfect. Now, the next step is essentially we're going to take these 10 items and we're going to loop over them. Because what I don't want is to have all this work in a way where the whole book is written before anything is saved. I want to be able to grab one chapter or grab the first chapter, get the outline, split the outline into the different sub chapters or sub points in that chapter, and then write each of those 10 or whatever number of items is in that specific chapter. Once that chapter is written, I want it to save to Airtable and then continue with that loop until all the chapters are written. So this is why I'm using the loop over items right here. Bet size can be 1, and the loop branch, great, gives me this chapter 1. Perfect. Now, let's keep going here. So after we get that first chapter item, what I want to do is essentially turn it into an array, because that will allow me to split it into further items. So here I'm going to go to data transformation, and I'm going to take that, and I think I can just split this into an array. So let's test this. And this gives me, great, a chapter outline with these subchapters in it. Perfect. The next thing I want to do is essentially split those items into a list. So from one item, from one array item, I want to take this chapter outline and turn it into, great, 12 items right here. So I have chapter 1.1 up until 1.10 right there. However, what I'm not sure about is why this is outputting 12 items when I have 10 items on my list. Oh yeah, there's 12 items. Okay, we're good. Perfect. Now, what else? Let's remove that done loop for now. So once we have those 12 items, we can essentially just get to writing. So I'm going to use DeepSeek here. I'm going to create a chat completion, and just for the sake of time, I'm going to grab a prompt that I created earlier. So I'm going to choose my model, which is DeepSeek chat. I'm going to go to expression, and this is the prompt that I'll be using. So I'm writing a book about whatever. This chapter is called whatever. Here's the chapter complete outline. You're writing the specific section. Then I have some further instructions. You can reference other parts of the chapter, but do not write in detail about them. Go in detail about your specific sub or specific section you're writing about. Your aim is to be detailed. Write in a Spartan tone, FK level 4. Use a different length of sentence output. Expand on each point given. Do not mention reference to other sections. Do not explicitly mention reference to other sections. Start a new paragraph every 2 to 3 lines to make the output more readable. The first sentence of the section should be its own paragraph and be a shorter sentence. The last output paragraph doesn't have to be a summarizing paragraph. If it is, do not use words like by doing or in summary. It should instead flow more naturally with what the section is about and potentially lead into the next section. Include the subheading text as an H2, but do not mention the actual number of the subheading, because what I found was that sometimes we're saying, okay, 1.1, putting the heading, then 1.2. I don't want that, which is why I said don't mention the actual number of the subheading. Now, all I need to do here is replace the variables. So I'm writing a book about, the book is about table name, right? So correcting the word one misused phrase at a time. The chapter is called, and that's the loop over item, which we should have right here. So that's the chapter name. The outline should be this right here. Okay. So no, that didn't work. No, that's not what I want. Let me think. Here's the chapter. Okay, I guess we want the subchapter here, but it's not the. Yeah. You're writing the specific section 1.1, but what I want is the whole outline, which I can find from my Airtable. Not an issue. So Airtable filter. Yeah, chapter outline is right here. Great, so I'm writing a book about correcting the world. The chapter is chapter 1. Here's the complete chapter outline for reference, the whole thing, and you're writing about the specific section. Perfect. So this will loop over 12 times and create the chapter. So what I want to do, yeah, I think we can just, let's test this out. So this should technically start writing all of these 12 items in my first chapter. So once this is finished, it should have that complete chapter ready to go in 12 different parts. What we will then do once this finishes is we'll join everything together and then save that to Airtable. So obviously this will take some time because there's a bunch of requests and responses happening. So let me just pause this video and I'll keep going once it's ready. Okay, so here I'm running into an issue with this right here. And I think it's because DeepSeek has been having a bunch of issues over the last few days with their API and their platform in general. I also tried adding a limit here, which would limit the 12 items to just one as a test, but I'm still getting this error over here. And I think it's in terms of the response that we're getting back from DeepSeek. So what I want to try right here is this using this Grok API to get this to write our specific chapter. I haven't tested this extensively, so I'm not sure what will happen, but let's just test this out. And what I'm going to do is just grab this item right here and let's just essentially, we need to paste in the contents right here. Now, since this is kind of open JSON, we might run into some issues. Yep, like so. So let's go to ChatGPT and let's just say, compare this into correct JSON. And we're just going to, how was it before? Okay. So I need my quotes, which are at the end. Great. So let's just say convert it into correct JSON. And hopefully if that works, we'll be able to keep going with this demo video. So let's see. So this is adding a bunch of stuff right here in order for the JSON to be correct instead of breaking off into separate lines, which breaks the JSON. Okay, so this is done. Copy this and let's just paste that in there. And in order to set this up, you have the endpoint right there. The method is post. You just need to get your API key and then you can run this in n8n. So let's see if we can test this. And okay, that, all right, nice, not bad. It immediately gave us our first part. I like that actually. Let's just copy that. And yeah, let's have a look at what that wrote. Wait. So this is actually using DeepSeek R1 as well, right? but okay, there's a bunch of data here that I'm not sure where that came from, but okay, let's have a look. So in the request, we gave this information, but potentially, because here it seems like it's explain what loops are, how they apply to Airtable. That's pretty weird though. So it's not taking the data. Okay, I think because I pasted that as a fixed item. Okay, so if so, that makes sense. Yeah, I think so. So let's try this again. So I'm writing a book about, the book is about this right here, table name. Okay, this chapter is called loop over items. This chapter is called this. Here's the complete chapter, and this is the outline from Airtable. Which is, where's that? This right here. Here's the complete outline for reference. Okay, sweet. Let's test this again. Okay, and now again we get invalid JSON. So, essentially what we need to do is ensure that we have no characters that break this. So here we can say dot replace. I mean, this is getting a bit too complex for something that should be more simple, but let's have a look if we manage this. Chapter is called, okay, I believe I just include this dot replace, should replace like new lines with a space, but here it hasn't. So backslash n, there might also be, okay, let's try and figure this out. So go back here. Why is this like output JSON going on new lines when I'm using a replace in my input? It's a pity because DeepSeek has been good so far, but it just has been down a lot over the last couple of days. Okay, so let's just grab this. We're also trying to look for R instead of N, and we're looking globally for everything, so it's not just one of them, which might be why it did one but not the others. So dot replace, and let's replace that. Okay, so that should do it. So let's test this, and still it's invalid. Why? So there's an error over here. Okay, why is this invalid JSON? So yeah, there's a bit of back and forth in order to try and figure this out. Here's the complete chapter contains an array, which is valid JSON, but the way it's formatted with inconsistent white space and line breaks could. Okay. So what we need to fix is this. So I want to fix this though. Static JSON doesn't support functions. Let's see if this will work. So let's paste that in there. And now I have invalid syntax. Yeah, it's tough to try and balance all this right here. So JSON, I'm writing a book about Let's start this again. So here we should have, I don't think this is breaking. This is just that this subchapter is to be on multiple lines. So let me just pause the video and see if I can figure this out. All right, so after a bunch of and a lot of trial and error, I think I have figured this out. So first of all, I changed from DeepSeek to Llama because the DeepSeek R1 was giving me a bunch of reasoning steps and I don't necessarily need this right now. And over here, I had to make a bunch of changes using the replace in order to make or to ensure that this JSON is actually correct. So I have a replace here. We're replacing the quotes where I'm replacing any line breaks. And the final result was this right here. So the origins of language. And that was, or that is the first chapter actually written. So what I want to do is test this out with the rest of the chapter. So I'm just going to remove this. And once this makes all the write-ups, we can then proceed to the next stage. So what I would like to do is spin this right here. And let's see if we can test this step. And can't get data for expression. Okay. So that didn't quite work as expected. So let's see here. What's wrong with that? Try using first, last. All right. Let's see here. Why is this not working? I'm writing a book about, okay. So why did it work before and not now? Because it uses that item and n8n can find out the matching term. The node limit returning correct matching information. Dot item. Okay, it's weird. When we have this right here, that seems to be working right. Alright, let's see. So set table name dot item dot json dot table name. Let's remove that. And try and reinsert this once more. So this is the table name. Okay. Here I want to have this chapter. So this chapter is called loop over items chapter name, which I will insert there. And here I want to insert the chapter outline. So that is this from our table. And finally, I want to insert the subchapter we are writing, which is this right here. Let's test this out. And it still won't work. Using an idea, I can figure out the matching item, the node limit. Okay, I think we're still, however, still getting the information from the node limiter, from the limit node, for some strange reason. So let's see if we can just run this. Okay, now run this. Okay, yeah, I think that works. So it's just still pulling the information from the limit node. And here it says that it already created 12 items. So that is quite fast, I must say. Language is a tool. Okay, let's see. So we got the 12 items right here. So now the next step is to aggregate and join all that information. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to aggregate the individual fields, and the output, or the input, I guess in this case, will be this choices. So now we should get this whole chapter written. Great. Or this whole chapter joined together. So this is all chapter joined together. This is writing the chapter. And now we just want to save that to Airtable, essentially. So let's just go to Airtable. And what we're going to do is update the record we are working on. So the ID, will be the one that we already have before, which is the one after the filter. It's a filter ID, so that's that. Or wait, this isn't that. So the base is fixed, and that is from the list, which is the n8n one. So n8n YouTube. the list is actually the ID, which is an expression. Not sure why this is saying it's undefined though. Airtable ID, it's literally right there. Fixed expression. That's so weird though. Okay. So that works, but if I go via ID, and I go to expression, and I paste that in there, that's not working. So, Airtable, that is undefined. Okay. I guess I'm just gonna go with the fixed item for now. From list, we had the correcting. Yep. And we're essentially going to match this with the chapter. I guess we're going to go with chapter name. So let's match this with chapter name. Let's use the chapter name to match this, which should be the one right here. This is weird though. There's not finding any of that. And what I want to insert is this chapter detail, which is the aggregated information. So let's see if we manage to make this work. Let's test this. Okay, this is writing again, so maybe I should pin that. And let's see. Okay, so there's something wrong here. So let's pin this. And let's see. Okay, request is invalid or could not be processed. So this found the information is just couldn't be processed, which is cannot parse value. So let's see if this will work in the first of all. No, still. It's weird because this is giving us. Let me see, maybe I'm looking at the wrong piece of information, which I might have been. Airtable should be the one after the filter. Correctly. Okay, let's just try and use this instead, which might solve it. Okay, yep, that works. Now column to match on would be the chapter name. So we said earlier, the chapter name will be this right here. And the formatted text, or the chapter detail rather, is the output from the aggregator, which should be this. Let's test. The request is invalid or could not be processed by the service. Okay, that's weird. So we have Airtable, we have update. Let's see what I have in the urgent one. The list is that, the ID is that. Match each column manually based on the chapter name, great. And this looks pretty much the same. So let's see if we have managed to insert test here as a fixed value. Okay, so that actually worked. So if I go here and I refresh this, I should see test in this chapter detail actual formatted test. Yeah, so this should go here. So here, I guess there is some type of problem with this aggregation of text. So let's see if we can solve that by just transforming this into a string, I guess, which maybe that is the reason why, because this is returning an array. So let's test this, and here let's try and in chapter detail insert that. So let's test this. Yep, and that inserted the information we wanted in this chapter detail. So here we have all this with the \n and all that stuff, but that is stuff that we can fix later. So yeah, this is working relatively well. Now what I want to do is do it for the rest of the chapters, and to make it easier, I'm going to go with done. I'm going to add a checkbox here, similar to what we were trying to do earlier. And what I want is at the beginning of this flow is to check whether that done flag is tagged, because if it is, I don't want to essentially loop over that item. So let's see. So here we're getting the information, and let's filter over here. So actually here we're getting the Airtable records. So let's just filter over here. So let's say if done is equal to 1. So this should only give us 9 items now. No, gave us 1 item. Oh yeah, done should be 0. So this should give us 9 items. Great. And this started with chapter 2. Perfect. So now we just unpin this. And what we want to do is essentially loop over here. So once this is done, it should move to the next chapter. And then this will end once all of this is done. So we insert the 9 items, we loop over them, and once they are done, we are essentially done. So now I can test this workflow, and let's see what happens here. So this is writing the chapter. Let's move this slightly here. And then it should add this to chapter 2, which is right here. If it works well, we should then go into the next items. Right. So that didn't work. Writing the chapter, service unavailable. So I don't know if that's a problem with Grok now, or yeah, I'm not sure. Rate limit, okay, rate limit reached. So yeah, getting stuff written using Grok and DeepSeek is proving to be pretty difficult. So limit 6,000, use 20K. Okay, please try again in 2 minutes. So, let me just pause this again. That has been going for like 30 minutes, but it's also interesting to, I guess, see what errors come up and fix them like in this type of demonstration, because these are things that you will run into as you are building your scenarios. So let me just pause this, and just for the sake of testing, I'll try this again in this, like in a couple of minutes, and see if this works. All right, sweet. So this worked the first time that I retried it, and then it failed the second time. So it is a rate limit type of thing by Grok. But the thing is that here, this also worked well. So we got the common misused phrases and their origins, we got the text written, and now we get the chapter in detail saved right here. What I will also add is an Airtable here is to update this. So if I refresh here, I just want to change this to done. So that should also update this right here. So we'll go here. Probably won't be referring to that record, but yeah, this will update that there. So yeah, if I test this now, I think it will ask me to wait again. So yes, it is. Try again in 2 minutes. So, I mean, essentially, I can either change the model, which I would do if I were building this myself, or it would, I mean, wait the requested amount of time before going to the next chapter. So yeah, I could also like retry DeepSeek, but that seems to be problematic as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. It was a bit of a bumpy ride, but I hope that you got value out of it in terms of how we went from a chapter and a chapter outline to actually creating the individual chapter and saving it into Airtable. In the next video, we'll have the complete Airtable. So this right here will be filled with the information about each chapter. So then we'll format the text properly, so it won't just be this bunch of text right here. And then the final step will be to actually take that formatted text and convert it into a Word, a Google document. So your PDF, your book, will then be able to be downloaded and shared with the world. So if you found this video useful, hit the like and subscribe, first of all, so you don't miss the future videos. And in the meantime, check out the link in the description for more information on how I can help you introduce AI and automation in your business. I'll speak to you soon.